The Academy Awards, commonly known as the Oscars, is an annual American awards ceremony honoring cinematic achievements in the film industry. Winners are awarded the statuette, officially the Academy Award of Merit, that is much better known by its nickname Oscar. The awards, first presented in 1929 at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, are overseen by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. The Oscar Academy Awards are an electoral race to the trophy to Best Film in any category. The awards ceremony was first televised in 1953 and is now seen live in more than 200 countries. The Oscars is also the oldest entertainment awards ceremony. Its equivalents, the Emmy Awards for television, the Tony Awards for theatre, and the Grammy Awards for music and recording, are modeled after the Academy Awards. The 86th Academy Awards ceremony was held on March 2, 2014, at the Dolby Theatre in Los Angeles, later than usual as to not clash with the Winter Olympics in Sochi, Russia. History. The first Academy Awards were presented on May 16, 1929, at a private dinner at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel with an audience of about 270 people. The post-Academy Awards party was held at the Mayfair Hotel. The cost of guest tickets for that night's ceremony was $5. 15 statuettes were awarded, honoring artists, directors and other personalities of the filmmaking industry of the time for their works during the 1927–28 period. The ceremony ran for 15 minutes. Winners had been announced to media 3 months earlier. However, that was changed in the second ceremony of the Academy Awards in 1930. Since then and during the first decade, the results were given to newspapers for publication at 11 p.m. on the night of the awards. This method was used until the Los Angeles Times announced the winners before the ceremony began. As a result, the Academy has since 1941 used a sealed envelope to reveal the name of the winners. The first Best Actor awarded was Emil Jannings, for his performances in The Last Command and The Way of All Flesh. He had to return to Europe before the ceremony, so the Academy agreed to give him the prize earlier. This made him the first Academy Award winner in history. The honored professionals were awarded for all the work done in a certain category for the qualifying period. For example, Jannings received the award for 2 movies in which he starred during that period, and Janet Gaynor later won a single Oscar for performances in 3 films. Since the fourth ceremony, the system changed, and professionals were honored for a specific performance in a single film. For the first 6 ceremonies, the eligibility period spanned 2 calendar years. At the 29th ceremony, held on March 27, 1957, the Best Foreign Language Film category was introduced. Until then, foreign language films were honored with the Special Achievement Award. As of the 83rd Academy Awards ceremony held in 2011, a total of 2,894 Oscars have been given for 1,853 awards. Oscar statuette. Although there are 7 other types of annual awards presented by the Academy plus 2 awards that are not presented annually, the best-known one is the Academy Award of Merit, more popularly known as the Oscar statuette. Made of gold-plated Britannium on a black metal base, it is 13.5 in tall, weighs 8.5 lb and depicts a knight rendered in Art Deco style holding a crusader's sword standing on a reel of film with 5 spokes. The 5 spokes represent the original branches of the Academy: actors, writers, directors, producers, and technicians. In 1928, MGM's art director Cedric Gibbons, one of the original Academy members, supervised the design of the award trophy by printing the design on a scroll. In need of a model for his statuette, Gibbons was introduced by his future wife Dolores del Rao to Mexican film director and actor Emilio El Indio Fernandez. Reluctant at first, Fernandez was finally convinced to pose nude to create what today is known as the Oscar. Then, sculptor George Stanley sculpted Gibbons's design in clay, and Sarkhan Smith cast the statuette in 92.5% tin and 7.5% copper and then gold-plated it. The only addition to the Oscar since it was created is a minor streamlining of the base. The original Oscar mold was cast in 1928 at the C.W. Shumway & Sons Foundry in Batavia, Illinois, which also contributed to casting the molds for the Vince Lombardi Trophy and Emmy Awards statuettes. Since 1983, approximately 50 Oscars are made each year in Chicago by Illinois manufacturer R.S. Owens and Company. The awards weigh 8.5 pounds each and take between 3 to 4 weeks to manufacture each statue. In support of the American effort in World War II, the statuettes were made of plaster and were traded in for gold ones after the war had ended. Naming: the origin of the name Oscar is disputed. One biography of Bette Davis claims that she named the Oscar after her first husband, band leader Harmon Oscar Nelson. One of the earliest mentions in print of the term Oscar dates back to a Time magazine article about the 1934 Sixth Academy Awards. Walt Disney is also quoted as thanking the Academy for his Oscar as early as 1932. Another claimed origin is that the Academy's executive secretary, Margaret Herrick, first saw the award in 1931 and made reference to the statuettes reminding her of her uncle Oscar. Columnist Sidney Skolsky was present during Herrick's naming and seized the name in his byline. Employees have affectionately dubbed their famous statuette Oscar. The trophy was officially dubbed the Oscar in 1939 by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. Ownership of Oscar statuettes: since 1950, the statuettes have been legally encumbered by the requirement that neither winners nor their heirs may sell the statuettes without first offering to sell them back to the Academy for $1. If a winner refuses to agree to this stipulation, then the Academy keeps the statuette. Academy Awards not protected by this agreement have been sold in public auctions and private deals for six-figure sums. In December 2011, Orson Welles' 1941 Oscar for Citizen Kane was put up for auction, after his heirs won a 2004 court decision contending that Welles did not sign any agreement to return the statue to the Academy. On December 20, 2011, it sold in an online auction for $861,542. In 1992, Harold Russell needed money for his wife's medical expenses. In a controversial decision, he consigned his 1946 Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for The Best Years of Our Lives to Herman Darvik Autograph Auctions, and on August 6, 1992, in New York City, the Oscar sold to a private collector for $60,500. Russell defended his action, saying, "I don't know why anybody would be critical. My wife's health is much more important than sentimental reasons. The movie will be here, even if Oscar isn't." Harold Russell is the only Academy Award-winning actor to ever sell an Oscar. While the Oscar is owned by the recipient, it is essentially not on the open market. Michael Todd's grandson tried to sell Todd's Oscar statuette to a movie prop collector in 1989, but the Academy won the legal battle by getting a permanent injunction. Although some Oscar sales transactions have been successful, some buyers have subsequently returned the statuettes to the Academy, which keeps them in its treasury. Nomination: since 2004, Academy Award nomination results have been announced to the public in late January. Prior to that, the results were announced in early February. Voters: the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, a professional honorary organization, maintains a voting membership of 5,783 as of 2012. Academy membership is divided into different branches, with each representing a different discipline in film production. Actors constitute the largest voting bloc, numbering 1,311 members of the Academy's composition. Votes have been certified by the auditing firm PricewaterhouseCoopers for the past 73 annual awards ceremonies. All AMPAS members must be invited to join by the Board of Governors, on behalf of Academy branch executive committees. Membership eligibility may be achieved by a competitive nomination, or a member may submit a name based on other significant contribution to the field of motion pictures. New membership proposals are considered annually. The Academy does not publicly disclose its membership, although as recently as 2007 press releases have announced the names of those who have been invited to join. The 2007 release also stated that it has just under 6,000 voting members. While the membership had been growing, stricter policies have kept its size steady since then. In 2012, the results of a study conducted by the Los Angeles Times was published which revealed the demographic breakdown of approximately 88% of AMPAS voting membership. Of the 5,100-plus active voters confirmed, 94% were Caucasian, 77% were male, and 54% were found to be over the age of 60. 33% of voting members are former nominees and winners. In May 2011, the Academy sent a letter advising its 6,000 or so voting members that an online system for Oscar voting will be implemented in 2013. Rules: according to Rules 2 and 3 of the official Academy Awards rules, a film must open in the previous calendar year, from midnight at the start of January 1 to midnight at the end of December 31, in Los Angeles County, California, to qualify. For example, the 2009 Best Picture winner, The Hurt Locker, was actually first released in 2008, but did not qualify for the 2008 awards as it did not play its Oscar qualifying run in Los Angeles until mid-2009, thus qualifying for the 2009 awards. Rule 2 states that a film must be feature-length, defined as a minimum of 40 minutes, except for short subject awards, and it must exist either on a 35mm or 70mm film print or in 24-frames or 48-frames progressive scan digital cinema format with native resolution not less than 1280p, 720. Producers must submit an official screen credits online form before the deadline. In case it is not submitted by the defined deadline, the film will be ineligible for Academy Awards in any year. The form includes the production credits for all related categories. Then, each form is checked and put in a reminder list of eligible releases. In late December, ballots and copies of the reminder list of eligible releases are mailed to around 6,000 active members. For most categories, members from each of the branches vote to determine the nominees only in their respective categories. In all major categories, voters use an instant runoff voting ballot, with potential nominees rewarded in the single transferable vote tally for having strong supporters who rank them first. There are some exceptions in the case of certain categories, like foreign film, documentary and animated feature film, in which movies are selected by special screening committees made up of members from all branches. In the special case of Best Picture, all voting members are eligible to select the nominees for that category. Foreign films must include English subtitles, and each country can submit only one film per year. The winners are then determined by a second round of voting in which all members are then allowed to vote in most categories, including Best Picture. Film companies will spend as much as several $1 million on marketing to awards voters for a movie in the running for Best Picture, in attempts to improve chances of receiving Oscars and other movie awards conferred in Oscar season. The Academy enforces rules to limit overt campaigning by its members so as to try to eliminate excesses and prevent the process from becoming undignified. It has an awards czar on staff who advises members on allowed practices and levies penalties on offenders. For example, a producer of the 2010 Best Picture nominee, The Hurt Locker, was disqualified as a producer in the category when he contacted associates urging them to vote for his film and not another that was seen as frontrunner. Ceremony, telecast. The major awards are presented at a live televised ceremony, most commonly in late February or early March following the relevant calendar year, and 6 weeks after the announcement of the nominees. It is the culmination of the film awards season, which usually begins during November or December of the previous year. This is an elaborate extravaganza, with the invited guests walking up the red carpet in the creations of the most prominent fashion designers of the day. Black tie dress is the most common outfit for men, although fashion may dictate not wearing a bow tie, and musical performers sometimes do not adhere to this. The Academy Awards is the only awards show that is televised live in all United States time zones, Canada, the United Kingdom, and gathers millions of viewers elsewhere throughout the world. The 2007 ceremony was watched by more than 40 million Americans. Other award ceremonies are broadcast live in the Eastern and Central time zones, but are on tape delay on the West Coast and might not air the same day outside North America. The Academy has for several years claimed that the award show has up to 1 billion viewers internationally, but this has so far not been confirmed by any independent sources. The awards show was first televised in 1953, on NBC, which continued to broadcast the event until 1960 when the ABC network took over, televising the festivities through 1970, after which NBC resumed the broadcasts. ABC once again took over broadcast duties in 1976 and it is under contract to do so through the year 2020. The first countries to broadcast the Academy Awards on television, aside from the United States, were Canada, the United Kingdom and Mexico. The latter two countries did not broadcast the live show, and Mexico did not carry the live event until 1964. By 1954, 7 other countries, namely Brazil, Cuba, Venezuela, West Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, and France, were already broadcasting the awards show, although previously filmed into a condensed 60-minute version, called the International Edition of the Academy Awards. The awards show was broadcast for the first time via satellite in 1970, but only 2 South American countries, Chile and Brazil, purchased the rights to air the live event. By that time, the television rights to the awards show were sold in 50 countries. A decade later, the TV rights to the Oscars were already being sold to 60 countries, and by 1984, the TV rights to the awards were licensed in 76 countries. Until the arrival of subscription television in Europe, Africa and the Middle East, which enabled the Oscars to be broadcast live through these territories, there was already available a previously filmed or taped 90-minute version of the awards show which was aired on broadcast television in these territories. However, several Asian and Australasian countries, such as Japan, Hong Kong, South Korea, Singapore, Malaysia, Australia and New Zealand were already carrying the live broadcast of the awards show since the late 1970s. AMPAS still produces a condensed 90-minute version of the Academy Awards for those territories in which the rights to the live broadcast are expensive. After more than 60 years of being held in late March or early April, the ceremonies were moved up to late February or early March starting in 2004 to help disrupt and shorten the intense lobbying and ad campaigns associated with Oscar season in the film industry. Another reason was because of the growing TV ratings success of the NCAA Men's Division I Basketball Championship, which would cut into the Academy Awards audience. The earlier date is also to the advantage of ABC, as it now usually occurs during the highly profitable and important February sweeps period. Some years, the ceremony is moved into early March in deference to the Winter Olympics. Another reason for the move to late February and early March is to avoid the awards ceremony occurring so close to the religious holidays of Passover and Easter, which for decades had been a grievance from members and the general public. Advertising is somewhat restricted, however, as traditionally no movie studios or competitors of official Academy Awards sponsors may advertise during the telecast. The awards show holds the distinction of having won the most Emmys in history, with 47 wins and 195 nominations. After many years of being held on Mondays at 9:00 p.m. Eastern/6 p.m. Pacific, in 1999 the ceremonies were moved to Sundays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern/5:30 p.m. Pacific. The reasons given for the move were that more viewers would tune in on Sundays, that Los Angeles rush hour traffic jams could be avoided, and that an earlier start time would allow viewers on the East Coast to go to bed earlier. For many years the film industry had opposed a Sunday broadcast because it would cut into the weekend box office. On March 30, 1981, the awards ceremony was postponed for one day after the shooting of President Ronald Reagan and others in Washington, D.C. In 1993, an in memoriam segment was introduced, honoring those who had made a significant contribution to cinema who had died in the preceding 12 months, a selection compiled by a small committee of Academy members. This segment has drawn criticism over the years for the omission of some names. In terms of broadcast length, the ceremony generally averages 3.5 hours. The first Oscars, in 1929, lasted 15 minutes. At the other end of the spectrum, the 2000 ceremony lasted 4 hours and 4 minutes. In 2010, the organizers of the Academy Awards announced that winners' acceptance speeches must not run past 45 seconds. This, according to organizer Bill Mechanic, was to ensure the elimination of what he termed the single most hated thing on the show, overly long and embarrassing displays of emotion. The Academy has contemplated moving the ceremony even further back into January, citing TV viewers' fatigue with the film industry's long awards season. However, such an accelerated schedule would dramatically decrease the voting period for its members, to the point where some voters would only have time to view the contending films streamed on their computers. Also, a January ceremony would have to compete with National Football League playoff games. Awards ceremonies. Historically, the Oscars has pulled in a bigger haul when box office hits are favored to win the Best Picture trophy. More than 57.25 million viewers tuned to the telecast for the 70th Academy Awards in 1998, the year of Titanic, which generated close to $600 million at the North American box office pre-Oscars. The 76th Academy Awards ceremony, in which The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King received 11 awards including Best Picture, drew 43.56 million viewers. The most watched ceremony based on Nielsen ratings to date, however, was the 42nd Academy Awards, which drew a 43.4% household rating on April 7, 1970. By contrast, ceremonies honoring films that have not performed well at the box office tend to show weaker ratings. The 78th Academy Awards, which awarded low-budgeted, independent film Crash, generated an audience of 38.64 million with a household rating of 22.91%. In 2008, the 80th Academy Awards telecast was watched by 31.76 million viewers on average with an 18.66% household rating, the lowest rated and least watched ceremony to date, in spite of celebrating 80 years of the Academy Awards. The Best Picture winner of that particular ceremony was another independently financed film. Venues. In 1929, the first Academy Awards were presented at a banquet dinner at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel. From 1930 to 1943, the ceremony alternated between two venues, the Ambassador Hotel on Wilshire Boulevard and the Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. Grauman's Chinese Theatre in Hollywood then hosted the awards from 1944 to 1946, followed by the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles from 1947 to 1948. The 21st Academy Awards in 1949 were held at the Academy Award Theatre at what was the Academy's headquarters on Melrose Avenue in Hollywood. From 1950 to 1960, the awards were presented at Hollywood's Pantages Theatre. With the advent of television, the 1953–1957 awards took place simultaneously in Hollywood and New York, first at the NBC International Theatre and then at the NBC Century Theatre, after which the ceremony took place solely in Los Angeles. The Oscars moved to the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium in Santa Monica, California in 1961. By 1969, the Academy decided to move the ceremonies back to Los Angeles, this time to the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion at the Los Angeles County Music Center. In 2002, the Kodak Theater became the permanent home of the award ceremonies. However, due to Eastman Kodak's bankruptcy issues, this theater was renamed the Hollywood and Highland Center in the days preceding the 26 February 2012 awards ceremony. As of May 2012, the theatre was once again renamed to the Dolby Theatre after Dolby Laboratories acquired the naming rights. Merit categories, current categories. In the first year of the awards, the Best Director award was split into two separate categories. At times, the Best Original Score award has also been split into separate categories. From the 1930s through the 1960s, the Art Direction, Cinematography, and Costume Design awards were likewise split into two separate categories. Prior to 2012, the Production Design Award was called Art Direction, while the Makeup and Hairstyling Award was called Makeup. Another award, entitled the Academy Award for Best Original Musical, is still in the Academy rule books and has yet to be discontinued. However, due to continuous insufficient eligibility each year, it has not been awarded since 1984. Discontinued categories. Proposed categories: the Board of Governors meets each year and considers new award categories. To date, the following proposed categories have been rejected: Best Casting, rejected in 1999, Best Stunt Coordination, rejected every year from 1991 to 2012, Best Title Design, rejected in 1999, Special Categories. The Special Academy Awards are voted on by special committees, rather than by the Academy membership as a whole. They are not always presented on a consistent annual basis. Current special categories: Academy Honorary Award, since 1929, Academy Scientific and Technical Award, since 1931, Gordon E. Sawyer Award, since 1981, Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award, since 1956, Irving G. Thalberg Memorial Award, since 1938, discontinued special categories: Academy Juvenile Award, 1934 to 1960, Academy Special Achievement Award, 1972 to 1995, Critical Reception and Review. Due to the positive exposure and prestige of the Academy Awards, studios spend millions of dollars and hire publicists specifically to promote their films during what is typically called the Oscar season. This has generated accusations of the Academy Awards being influenced more by marketing than quality. William Friedkin, an Academy Award-winning film director and former producer of the ceremony, expressed this sentiment at a conference in New York in 2009, describing it as the greatest promotion scheme that any industry ever devised for itself. In addition, some winners critical of the Academy Awards have boycotted the ceremonies and refused to accept their Oscars. The first to do so was Dudley Nichols. Nichols boycotted the 8th Academy Awards ceremony because of conflicts between the Academy and the Writers Guild. George C. Scott became the second person to refuse his award at the 43rd Academy Awards ceremony. Scott described it as a meat parade, saying, "I don't want any part of it." The third was Marlon Brando, who refused his award, citing the film industry's discrimination and mistreatment of Native Americans. At the 45th Academy Awards ceremony, Brando sent Sacheen Littler-Feather to read a 15-page speech detailing his criticisms. Tim Dirks, editor of AMC's filmsite.org, has written of the Academy Awards. Unfortunately, the critical worth, artistic vision, cultural influence, and innovative qualities of many films are not given the same voting weight. Especially since the 1980s, money-making formula-made blockbusters with glossy production values have often been crowd-pleasing titans, but they haven't necessarily been great films with depth or critical acclaim by any measure. Typical criticism of the Academy Awards for Best Picture is that among the winners and nominees there is an overrepresentation of romantic historical epics, biographical dramas, romantic dramedies, and family melodramas, most of which are released in the U.S. the last 3 months of the calendar year. This has led to the coining of the term Oscar bait, describing such movies. Overall, the Academy appears to go through periods of rewarding a certain type of film, war-themed movies in the early 1940s, social-issue dramas in the late 1940s, late 1960s, and mid-2000s, musicals and historical epics in the early to mid-1960s, family melodramas and biographical epics in the late 1970s and throughout the 1980s, atypical genres in the early 1970s and 1990s, romantic historical epic dramas in the late 1990s and early 2000s, independent violent movies from critically acclaimed directors in the late 2000s, and 20th-century historical movies in the 2010s. This has led at times to more specific criticisms that the Academy is disconnected from the audience, for example by favoring Oscar bait over audience favorites, or favoring historical melodramas over critically acclaimed movies that depict current life issues. The Academy appears to compensate by nominating these movies in other categories, for example effects and editing awards for science fiction and action movies, screenplay and supporting acting nominations for comedies, and directing, cinematography, and foreign language nominations for critically acclaimed art films. Acting prizes in certain years have been criticized for not recognizing superior performances so much as being awarded for sentimental reasons, personal popularity, atonement for past mistakes, or presented as a career honor to recognize a distinguished nominee's entire body of work. Associated events. The following events are closely associated with the annual Academy Awards ceremony: Nominees Luncheon, Governors Awards, the 25th Independent Spirit Awards, usually held in Santa Monica the Saturday before the Oscars, marked the first time it was moved to a Friday and a change of venue to LA Live. The annual Night Before, traditionally held at the Beverly Hills Hotel, begun in 2002 and generally known as the Party of the Season, benefits the Motion Picture and Television Fund, which operates a retirement home for SAG actors in the San Fernando Valley. Elton John AIDS Foundation Academy Award Party airs the awards live at the nearby Pacific Design Center. The Governor's Ball is the Academy's official after-party, including dinner, and is adjacent to the awards presentation venue. In 2012, the three-course meal was replaced by appetizers. The Vanity Fair after-party, historically at the former Morton's restaurant, since 2009 has been at the Sunset Tower. Presenter and performer gifts. It has been a tradition to give out gift bags to the presenters and performers at the Oscars. In later years these gifts have also been extended to award nominees and winners. The total value of these gifts can reach into the tens of thousands of dollars. In 2014 the value was reported to be as high as $80,000. The value has risen to the point where the U.S. Internal Revenue Service issued a statement regarding the gifts and their taxable status. The assortment of gifts varies significantly. Oscar gift bags have included deluxe vacation packages to Hawaii and Mexico and Japan, a private dinner party for the recipient and friends at any Morton Steakhouse worldwide, video phones, a 4-night stay at Rosewood's Badratz Palace Hotel, a luxury hotel in St. Moritz, Switzerland, Swiss-made watches, Jan Lewis Designs bangle bracelets, luxury vacation packages to the Canadian Rockies, spa treatments, bottles of luxury vodka, maple salad dressing, and weight loss gummy candy. Some of the gifts have even had a risque element to them. In 2014 the adult products retailer Adam and Eve had a secret room gifting suite. Celebrities visiting the gifting suite included Judith Hoag, Carolyn Hennessy, Kate Linder, Chris Mulkey, Jim O'Heir, and NBA star John Sally. TV ratings and ad prices. 2006 to 2011 results are live plus SD, all previous years are live viewing. See also, Golden Raspberry Awards, Academy Awards pre-show, Oscar speech, Elton John AIDS Foundation Academy Award Party, Oscar season, Film Awards seasons, Berlin International Film Festival, Cannes Film Festival, San Sebastian International Film Festival, Venice Film Festival. Notes. References. Procor, Lauren. Wanna see an Academy Awards invite? We got it along with all the major annual events surrounding the Oscars. Los Angeles, The Daily Truffle. Cott, Oliver. Secrets of Oscar-winning animation, behind the scenes of 13 classic short animations. Focal Press. ISBN A978-0-240-52070-4, Kin, Gail. Piazza, Jim. The Academy Awards, The Complete History of Oscar. Black Dog and Leventhal Publishers. ISBN A978-1-57912-240-9, Levy, Emmanuel. All About Oscar, The History and Politics of the Academy Awards. Burns and Oates. ISBN A978-0-8264-1452-6, Wright, John. The Lunacy of Oscar, The Problems with Hollywood's Biggest Night. Thomas Publishing, Incorporated. External links, Academy Awards live stream, marketing to Mavigas Euro Academy Award tie-in promotion partners. Official website, Academy Awards at the Internet Movie Database, Oscar.com Euro official Academy Awards ceremony site. Official Academy Awards database, Academy Awards at DMOZ. Oscar greats at Time magazine. Oscars latest news.